take questions and then, because I expect some same question.
Another question from Iran. Or was it from Mihi? That question. Okay. That answer, because this is the second question.
Now, there is one fundamental difference between conventional mortgage securitization and Islamic securitization. In the conventional securitization, what counts for the company which is financing the house is basically giving you a loan, giving the person loan, and as a collateral to the loan, house is kept, or the property papers are kept, the lien on that is kept as a collateral, that you cannot sell it without the permission of the lender. But whatever are the costs, whatever are the liability of losses, etc., of the house, whatever happens, ownership, liability of the ownership, liabilities associated with the ownership are always, they belong to you, the mortgagee. As compared to that, in case of Islamic securitization, the ownership remains with the sukuk holder. What kind of rights he has is another matter, that whether he can sell it out, the property, without the permission, this is another matter. But and why this cannot generate, the second part of the question is that can it generate similar mortgage-based crisis that has happened today or not? It depends. The present crisis is not simply because of the structure of a particular mortgage. It is an accumulation of various aspects that we talked about, and I think Dr. Chapra may have talked about in his previous lecture. One is that interest-bearing contracts create debt over debt, the rollover of debt. When you roll over the debt, existing debt, with a new debt, you keep on creating obligations and keep on creating more and more debt structures without any limit until a correction is needed. Second factor that contributed was that the nature of the mortgages, the trigger clauses in the interest rate that the subprime borrowers to whom the money was lent, with the trigger clauses that if the interest we are giving you at a lower interest rate today, but in future if the market interest rate goes by 1%, let's say, then your obligation will go 10 times or 5 times, etc. So this also created a factor in which created default. A third factor that created default, again structure of the mortgage, was that it was not based on a diminishing musharaka type of structure. This was fixed obligation that the mortgagees had to pay a certain amount to remove the lien on their houses from the lenders. When their obligations, their interest rate obligations increased and the price of the houses started to decrease, looking at the cost benefit analysis, they found that paying higher interest rate and getting the ownership of the house, getting the lien removed and getting the papers back from the company is not worth, because the market price of that house has gone down in the market. They will be better off if they just walk away. Whatever is lost is lost. So in the cost benefit analysis, They walked away from their property, which created further defaults and forced the banks or the lenders to sell those houses in the market, which further reduced the prices. So this was the vicious circle that came. In case of mortgages, if the Islamic mortgages are based on diminishing partnership basis or ijara muntahi bi tamlik basis, in either case, especially in the diminishing musharaka case, when the property value declines, so your obligations also decline. And hence, there are no incentives to walk away. When there are no incentives to walk away, then unnecessary or surplus houses, there won't be any surplus houses which will be sold in the market, which will not further depress the prices. So the current crisis was a peak of amalgamation of different things, and all those things came about because of interest, directly or indirectly. So that is my answer, and we can talk about it later because this issue is on Sukuk issuance only. So if there are questions which are directly related to Sukuk issuance, I will be taking those questions first, and if I have time I will come back to that question again, because there was the whole issue was discussed also in Mahi in our London seminar, and there are other papers also of individuals who have written on this issue. So this is not a new issue that, and there are many things which we can talk about on this issue.
Thank you, Doctor. Now go to Lebanon. Lebanon.
No, sorry, we don't have any questions. Thank you very much.
Durham University. Durham.
We have one question.
Thank you, Dr. Salman. You have mentioned in your slides about the Muzara, Sukuk, Mugharasa and Musaka. I appreciate if you can clarify these three concepts. Thank you.
Another question from Durham.
No,
Any other question?
Only one question?
Do you have any other question?
Thank you. No.
Thank
Just
you.
one question.
Thank you very much. Regarding Muzara, Musaka or other contracts, what is the difference between this contract and a partnership? If we are clear about partnership sukuk, then it is very easy to understand these kind of sukuk. How the partnership sukuk work? Partnership sukuk means that two entities are providing funds, collaborating, either one party is providing funds, other providing a tangible asset, or both providing funds to start a business. That business will be securitized, and the profits generated by that business will be distributed among the sukuk holders. It is same as a ordinary stock with a small difference. The ordinary stock represent shares and ownership right in the actual business of the company with the control rights as well. Whereas in case of a musharaka sukuk, you are creating a layer of SPV, you are holders of the assets of the SPV which has invested in other companies. So you are not controlling the other companies directly, only the SPV, and whatever earnings that SPV receives from that partnership, you are going to receive a portion of it. Similarly, in case of if the partnership is for agricultural purposes in Muzara or Musaka, then each party has its own obligation that how much they are going to contribute in inputs. Inputs can be financial, inputs can be in kind. And what is the reward? The reward is the output of that farm, output of that field, etc. So this is a kind of revenue sharing. They put in, for example, they are putting in costs according to a certain ratio and sharing in the output in a certain ratio. Not in profit but in the output. If you subtract the inputs that they are putting in, then it comes to same thing. Let me just use this camera to show you a structure of a Musharaka Sukuk, and Mudara Sukuk will not be different from here, except that it will be in agricultural commodities, and except that instead of using profit we will be saying output, which will be shared.
Yes.
A simple Sukuk al-Musharaka structure is here. The issue, yeah, Mudara and Mugharasa and Musaqa will be same, except that instead of sharing in profit, we will be sharing, output will be distributed, or the price of that output when it is sold. The issuer is providing a fund, contributing a fund, and Musharaka partner is also contributing a fund. This contribution by Musharaka partner may be in-kind contribution as well. Instead of fund, he is providing land. This is providing fund. How this issuer is providing fund? They have issued Sukuk to the investors and raised money. That money is used in an SPV or in a joint stock company or Musharaka, which will be doing business. And the purpose of this Musharaka is to generate profits. Whatever profits are generated from the Musharaka in the process of doing business is distributed according to a sharing ratio between the issuer and the other Musharaka partner. The issuer is going to distribute this profit share that we receive to the Sukuk holders. Now the Sukuk holders are holders of the assets of the issuer. They have no direct say in the Musharaka. So this is one layer that has been created. So they are not controlling the Musharaka directly, but only indirectly. So this is how the Musharaka is between only two big entities, not between many investors and a big investor. This is one difference. Secondly, sometimes there can be a convertibility clause that this issuer is. The second difference is that a normal Musharaka contract is a perpetual contract, is long-term contract, whereas Sukuk is, we define Sukuk by a limited term contract. So how to create limited term in Musharaka? Limited term can be created if the other Musharaka partner has agreed to buy the shares of this issuer over time. In 5 years' time, this Musharaka partner is going to purchase all the shares of the money that issuer contributed in this partnership and will pay. So the capital gains that the issuer will receive will again be passed on to the investors. So in other words, the business entity may be there for 100 years, but this structure is in place just for 5 years. Sukuk are issued for 5 years. Within 5 years, investors are getting the periodic returns as the share in profit. And at the end of the 5 years, by the end of the 5 years, the other partner is going to purchase all its shares from the first partner, and it will create capital gains that will be passed on to the investors. So this is a structure of Musharaka Sukuk, a basic structure of Musharaka Sukuk. Now, instead of putting Musharaka, putting in profits, suppose this is an agricultural farming cooperative which is generating wheat from the farms, and the wheat will be distributed between according to a sharing ratio, whatever is the output. The inputs are already there. So this is the Musaqa, Mugharasa and Muzara contract. This is an example of Muzara. Now what were the controversies in the Sharia controversy that we talked about? One example was that in case of any partnership, one partner cannot be guarantor of the other partner. In Ijara, it is possible that you can pay advance rent, which will be adjusted later on. You can loan something, but in this case, what was happening was that they were creating, the investor is promising, the issuer was promising to the investor that our Sukuk will generate, let's say, 10% of the profit per annum or 5% of the profit per annum. some amount, that this is the minimum rate that we are expecting. If you 5% expected rate, right? Now, if they shortfall this expectation, there was an arrangement that the other partner will loan out money to this issuer to be paid over here, which will be adjusted later on. And the same partner is also buying the property back. So you cannot combine a sale and a loan. Because of that, this was one Sharia objection. The other objection was that one partner cannot guarantee the other partner. Sometimes it was explicit guarantee that if this will shortfall, the other partner stands there to provide, to fulfill that shortfall, that the revenue will not fall short of this 5%, whatever. It can go up, but it cannot go down. So again, this was repugnant to Sharia. The third thing that is made even in the Ijara structure as well as in this kind of structure is that in order to make interest-like payments to the investors, that suppose interest is 6% fixed, how to make fixed return while the returns actually are variable, they put a lower cap that we will pay anyway 6%. If the if the rate of returns falls short of 6%, this person will either guarantee that he will compensate or he will give a loan. What about if the rate of return is more than 8%? If it is more than 8%, whatever is extra belongs to this issuer. Again, this is incompatible because it can be compatible and it can be incompatible. Compatible, that we are saying that this incentive payment, incentive for the issuer, incentive for these two actual workers to work harder. But incentive payments are incentive payments only if they are kept as only incentive, side incentive. This is not their main revenue. Their main revenue is the fees. But if you make the incentive payment more, it is more larger than what their wages are, then this is no more incentive, but this is basically a hila or a device to keep the rate of return of investors between 6 and 8% fixed, and allowing this entity to pay 6 to 8% interest, floating rate interest, while keeping the rest of the profit with themselves, while we are calling it musharaka. So that goes against the purpose of musharaka, or the soul of musharaka, and that's why this will become a misnomer if you call it musharaka and you do this thing. You may be able to do this kind of incentive payment in case of ijara, because the other party is a wakil. It is working on your behalf as an agent, and to an agent you can pay a higher fee. But over here, he is not an agent. Thank you.
I think the question also was about what's the difference between muzara'a and mugharasa and musaqat as a concept. Not
as a concept, one is about cropping, the other is about orchards and fruits, and the third is about the plantation, that how you grow the seed, plant the seeds, who has the right to plant the seeds and who will benefit from that seed. So these are different terminology, but in essence they are all same agricultural output sharing contracts.
Thank you. Can we go back to Mihi now? You have opportunity to ask question. Mihi, if you have any other question, please.
No, we don't have any questions. Thank you.
Dharam, do you have another question?
No, thank you.
And thank you very much, all of you. Once more for Lebanon, if you have, did any question come to you?
No, thank you very much. We don't have any questions for the time being. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Hope to see you for next week. For the last session on modes of Islamic finance to be given by Dr. Mohammed Baltaji. So see you next week. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.